Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos. I hope y'all are doing well. I'm ready to do another Owl House video, but this time around I decided to focus more on the Owl House couples as we patiently wait for season 3, and bear in mind there can be some spoilers. So, we've had many couples before, but I thought to at least go into more specific couples that are a bit more headcanon. So sorry shippers, I'm not going to do the ones that have not been confirmed yet. So I'm going to go over some of the most toxic relationships all the way up to the most healthiest and enduring relationships. Bear in mind, these are just my opinions alone, but you gotta love how the Owl House crew just sets up the relationships in a way that are pretty realistic, as well as something that people can relate to. Also, again, bear in mind these are spoilers, so without further ado, let's begin! How is this even possible? I can't believe even this sort of shipping is set up. I mean, this has to be one of the most toxic relationships in cartoon history, possibly alongside Joker and Harley. If you think about, look at how Odalia's dressed. She's almost dressed in a similar fashion to that of the Joker. She's very cruel, calculating, and manipulative, and it's just... ever since you first see them in Understanding Will, you think that both of them are awful, but it couldn't be far that from the truth when you have a look at them in the Season 2 Escaping Expulsion. Right off the bat, you can definitely see of how Odalia exploits Andy, as well as doing a very harsh threat of trying to make sure that Amity is going up with her grades, as well as everything else. To make matters worse, she's not above of trying to screw everyone else's lives in order to get what she wants, and basically just treats her own children like they're pawns of some sick little game. Sad to say, I'm pretty sure there are some parents that are like that in the real world to boot, which makes it even more sickening. And then you have Alador, who is probably a bit nicer of the two. At least he treats Luz with some respect regardless of being human or not, as well as at least he slowly starts to own up to his mistakes. He's not completely redeemed, but at least he owns up to the fact that they're screwed.
Family ahead of the rest. You're welcome, everyone. There you go, making that face. This is why I don't tell you things. With the Emperor's favor, we'll live like royalty in the new world. Crowns and everything.
This is too much, even for you.
Yikes. They are really bad for each other.
If you were a part of real life, you will even see right the likes of her. If you were to tell me or the shipping of Huntlow, I would have not been too convinced or would not have seen it exactly, especially because we were only learning a bit more about Hunter over time, as well as after hunting Pelsman, it seemed likely that Luz was an ideal candidate. So, going back up, Hunter is actually very inquisitive about learning magic, but at the same time, he is cautious about learning it because it's considered a major taboo. Not only that, but he's considered a powerless witch, not able to perform magic properly. To make matters worse, he's always abused by his quote-unquote uncle, and he wants nothing more than to help with his condition, well, Belos' condition. But he struggles with having to find the solution in his own means. Then you have Willow, who at the beginning was frustrated with the situation she was in, stuck in a track that she was horrible at, getting bad grades, being picked on as being considered a half a witch. It was a major struggle to her self-esteem, and she didn't know how to deal with that up until now. So when these two get together, it definitely brings up a very interesting chemistry after in any sport in a storm. And of course, their meeting was practically a little scary at first and interesting, Willow becoming a bit more confident and assertive, as well as giving a shock to Hunter of interacting with people considering of how socially awkward he was. After spending some time with the Emerald Entrails, Hunter begins to find some fun in what he does, as well as being accepted by the crew. It's by then that he slowly begins to feel a bit normal, as well as Willow finding someone that she can relate to on a more personal level. Well, with their first introduction and when Hunter comes clean, it didn't exactly land well at first. But he made things up with them after sending them away to Darius, and let them go by convincing Darius that they were worthless, which we all know isn't true. He's just lying to protect them. But still, it was a very endearing and sweet moment, especially after the first blush. So, over time, I put it a little lower because their interactions wasn't exactly the best in any sport and any storm, due to the fact that it was a little bit of Hunter's fault that he betrayed Willow's trust. So the relationship was a bit shaky at first, but over time you begin to see a blossom between the two, and not in a literal sense, but you can see of how Willow will do everything in her power to help out Hunter whenever possible, and Hunter the same. I love these two. I never even expected Ida to actually have a soulmate, let alone an ideal partner for her, but somehow it works in so many ways. And it's a bit higher up, but despite that they had previously broken up before, they still have feelings for each other and they go out their way. When they're first introduced, it just really clicks immediately of how they complement each other so well. Despite learning of Ida's curse, Rain accepted her for who she is, and they weren't bothered by some of the flaws up until their breakup. And of course, even after all these years, they still have feelings for each other, in more ways than one. I mean, heck, it was even adorable of how Ida just simply calls Rain out in Ida's Requiem, and then Rain does this cute little blush. Even by then, Rain still does everything in their power to protect Ida from their plans of trying to usurp the Emperor's throne, as well as organizing the schemes. And even they still poke and taunted each other. Rain is definitely the more cool and calm individual who wants nothing more than to make sure everything has a plan, even though they're not very good actors. And then of course, Ida's the wild child that seems to inspire Rain to do something right, especially when they learn the truth about the Emperor's Coven. And their duet is so beautiful together. Even if it was a very deadly spell they formed, it didn't stop the chemistry that flowed between them that was very bittersweet, and it definitely matches so much of couples that still have feelings for each other even after they've broken up. So, of course, I feel like they're so deserving of getting back together because it was close to being a very healthy relationship despite the short amount of screen time they had. And of course, I just want these two to be married so bad by the end of season 3. Oh heck yes, I love these two just as much as Rada, but one of the things that make it so great is the fact that their relationship really has evolved beyond all of the rankings above, going from a enemy to friends to lovers relationship. So in the beginning, Luz didn't exactly have a high opinion like the rest of us about Amity being a traditional mean girl, as well as a high-achieving one to boot, which made her a very deadly combo. However, when Luz tries to do a witch's duel with Amity, she learns a few things about her, and that she could possibly be not as mean as she claims to be. She struggles with the pressure from her family, as well as just dealing with the amount of issues that goes on with her family being abused and extorted, as I mentioned before. And Luz just shows that Amity that she can actually enjoy herself without being constantly pressured, and even going as far as trying to fight back against her mom, who of course that is being abused. So, in a lot of ways, these two just complement each other by far. Luz being very strong and outspoken, as well being a very brave individual who's not afraid of her creativity. And then you have Amity, who's very protective and supportive, and probably the only few people in Luz's age who actually makes her feel accepted and wanted in more ways than one, as well as help Luz build the confidence and assurance they needed. Even by then, Amity's character really has developed over time, where Amity finally finds value in herself despite the opinions of her family. And the same can be said about Luz, who finally doesn't have to prove her hardest to be shown that she's someone worth loving, as well as just help her overcome some of the traumas of her past. They just depend on each other and support each other throughout the majority of the show. Even by season 2, their relationship had blossomed into something really awesome. From the dance of Enchanting Rom to their upstanding moment in reaching out, it definitely really kicks off of just how much these two are a committed couple that has developed over time. And
it'll be awesome. I know. Oh, crikey. I can't believe I just did.
oh yes, Disney, it happened. It officially happened, an LGBTQ kiss in a Disney Channel show, and there's no going back in more ways than one. And again, they are just an awesome couple that just complement each other in being supportive as well as brave, and by far the most well-developed couples of all time in this show. So these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. Which was the best and which was the worst couples in this show? Remember to subscribe and do a like. This is Dragon Videos signing off.